I have cable. It's right there. I hate it. I don't want it. I find it to be a waste. There are 1,000 channels. I watch 4 of them. Why are there 1,000? Because there are advertisers who want those niche audiences. Monopolies, regulations, cable systems buying each other up left and right and merging. This is cable in the 90s, and it is crazy. Okay, welcome back again. I'm Trace. Thank you for tuning into my channel. Please subscribe so you get more videos. Today we're talking about the cable industry. It's episode 3 of 3, so this will round us all out and we'll get to the end of this very shortly. This is the 3rd episode of that series. Welcome back. Hi. Follow me on Twitter at Trace Dominguez. Let's kick into it. Again, according to the Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting Group, in 2009, the number of people who owned half of everything that we consume, people or corporations, was 15. 15 groups or people owned most of what you saw in 2009. 2009 seems like it was pretty recent to me and maybe to some of you, but let's kind of put 2009 in perspective. I made some notes here. In 2009, Facebook let you tag friends for the first time. Isn't that nice? They invented that. 2009. They had 360 million users. Now it's well over 1 billion. YouTube could not, in 2009, play high-definition videos. Nope. Wasn't an option. They introduced it in November of 2009. Yahoo was still a big player in the internets. Big search engine, had its own search function, and Microsoft had been aggressively trying to buy them, so they adopted Bing and they stopped being a search engine system company thing, and they just became Yahoo! Oh, that's it. That's all they became. Netflix existed. It's actually existed for way longer than you think. Maybe I'll do a whole series on that. Netflix is cool. Anyway, Netflix had streaming, but you could only stream to video game consoles like the Xbox 360 or PS3. You could also stream to Blu-ray players. Remember those? No phones, no tablets, Apple TV, please, come on. They only had 12.27 million subscribers. Today, as I'm recording this, Netflix in San Francisco is throwing their 100 million subscriber party. It's gonna be crazy. I wasn't invited. Okay, so that was 2009. That wasn't that long ago. And only 15 groups or companies owned everything that you could see. Do you think it's more now or less? So today, Comcast, giant company, Comcast, NBC, Universal. They own all the NBCs. They own Universal, which is a theme park, and it's got theme parks all over the world. They've got movie studios. They also own Telemundo, Focus Features, DreamWorks. That's one of the big companies. There aren't that many. There's only 5. Disney, they own ABC, ESPN, A&E, Lucasfilm, Marvel, everything Marvel, Pixar, everything Pixar. Basically, Disney just owns all pop culture. They also own ESPN and ABC and all of their groups, and the Disney Channel, obviously, and all those parks. News Corporation, is all the Foxes. Fox, 21st Century Fox, and Fox Family, and Fox and News, and all that bull crap. And then they also own Nat Geo and the magazine and the channels. They own the Wall Street Journal, Dow Jones Company, the New York Post. Then there's Time Warner. They own CNN, HBO, DC Comics, TBS, TNT, Warner Brothers, New Line Cinema, Cartoon Network, the CW, and Cinemax. Then there's Viacom. They own CBS, MTV, BET, CMT, Spike, Showtime, Comedy Central, VH1, Paramount Pictures, the Simon & Schuster Publishing Group. Can you think of something that I didn't just list that you watch? Oh, Showtime. Yep, they're owned by Viacom. Basically everything you consume on television, or probably on a website, is from one of these groups. 5 companies. Right now, you're probably thinking, oh, I watch Hulu. Hulu is a joint venture between all of these groups. We can't say, oh, well, I only watch YouTube. If you only watch YouTube, then one group owns everything that you see. Think about that. Netflix is independent, as are groups like the Discovery Channel, Discovery Communications and their networks, as are a variety of others. There are a lot of international groups and things, so you may watch something that these companies don't own. But again, we're not talking about everything. We're talking about more than half of what you consume is controlled by a very small group of people or companies. And that's what happened because of the deregulation of the cable industry. We went from 800 different cable systems, all with their own voices and all with their own programming and their own niches, to now marketing groups within giant conglomerates. I have cable. It's right there. I hate it. I don't want it. I find it to be a waste. However, I have it. There are 1,000 channels. I watch 4 of them. Why are there 1,000? Because there are advertisers who want those niche audiences. Now that they're giant conglomerates, the business model is almost the same as it was prior to the 1970s. You want advertisers. Yes, the subscription is a good base monetary input. You get a lot of money from that. However, advertisers are what makes up the difference. Not everybody gets to be, Game of Thrones. Viacom alone has MTV, VH1, CMT, and BET. Advertisers want these niches. MTV, VH1, CMT, BET, those are all niches, but they all basically do the same thing, right? They're about music and culture programming. However, you'd think that BET and CMT and MTV and VH1 are somehow competing. Guess what? They're not. They all work for the same boss. They're subdividing a giant group into 4 smaller groups and programming for each of those different demographics. And then all the money goes back to Viacom, who owns them all. This is why we have 1,000 channels. We have the horse network, the cooking channel, the food network. Video games really are a sport network, even though they maybe, not everybody agrees. But that doesn't matter because we can have a niche, and that niche audience will watch it, and then I can advertise to that audience, and maybe that'll spike in monetary value, and I'll be able to make money. The Velocity network, the Speed network, those are great examples. It's literally a network dedicated to people who like cars, and that's it. That's it. And yet they can have that network. How is it that the Food Network can be a thing? One, because food is amazing. If they had the Cheese Network, would you watch it? Probably. Especially if you're drunk at home at night, you'd probably watch it, wouldn't you? I know I would watch it. It'd be really good. Could have like a cool show called Manchego Returns. That'd be awesome. I'd watch that. The problem is the illusion of choice. We assume that because MTV, BET, CMT, and whatever other 3-letter crappy things exist, that we have a choice. We can make a choice. But what is really the difference between each of these groups? Depends on who's owning them. NBC News and MSNBC and CNBC are all owned by the same company. Does that mean they have the same message? Not necessarily. But does that mean if you watch one, you support the others? Absolutely. If you watch 21st Century Fox movies, you support Fox News. If you watch MSNBC, you are supporting all sorts of things that Comcast does. You can say you hate Comcast on one hand and then go watch movies and go to Universal's theme parks. You're supporting Comcast. That's what it is to live in oligopolies. The late George Carlin, who was supremely funny, said on the formerly liberal, now Geraldo-typey conservative Dennis Miller's show, which was, funnily enough, actually, on HBO, now that I think about it, that the illusion was choice. And I'm just going to play a quick clip from that show right here. I hope it doesn't get me pulled.
Freedom of choice. This is the big one. The illusion of choice. They were led to feel free by the exercise of meaningless choices. There are, for instance, important things, not too many choices. Unimportant things, ice cream flavors. What do you want? We got 31. Got the flavor of the week, got the flavor of the month. But political parties, we're down to 2. Jeez. And Jesse Ventura, sources of information. Media companies down to 5 or 6 now. Banks, insurance companies, pharmaceuticals, chemical companies, oil companies. Used to be 7, down to 3 now. Pretty soon going to be 2. But if you're looking for a bagel or a fucking donut, hey, what do you want? Pineapple supreme, hazelnut. We got everything you want. Cereals. I counted personally in the store. Counted 192 different cereal choices. 192. 140 different cat foods. I counted them, 140, and that includes a tartar-controlled cat food for senior citizen cats, okay?
And that's it. It's the illusion of choice. We used to have lots of companies, now we have a few companies, and they control a lot of stuff. Today, cable is in trouble. I mean, it is. I said it kind of wasn't earlier, but it is. Cord cutting is something no one wants to talk about, but it is a pretty big deal for the cable business. How they look at it is your parents pay for cable. You are indoctrinated into the cable system, and then you go to college where maybe you don't pay for cable, or you share cable with your friends in a house or in the dorm or residence hall or whatever. That's not ideal. The cable company would rather you all pay, however, you may not. And then you get out of college and you get your own cable subscription. If they can keep that going, then they get to grow and grow and grow. As the population grows, they grow, even if the market is saturated. Instead, most people are having cable with their parents, going to college and maybe having cable, but probably not, and then getting out and realizing they didn't need it. And they're not joining. They're never getting into the ecosystem. And because they don't even get in, they can't be trapped by needing or wanting this luxury item, especially because of all of the different economic issues that have happened from 2008 until now. We've recovered in a lot of ways, but there are still these cost-cutting measures that a lot of people have put into place. They'd rather spend their money on experiences than having a cable box that they may only watch a few hours a day. It's a whole different way of looking at things. In 2016, the Nielsen firm that does ratings for television said that 82 out of 119 different cable networks lost subscribers in 2016. 2017, Recode reported that 500,000 Americans are cutting the cord. In some places, that's really devastating for their market. Things like the Horse Network, which I mentioned earlier, is kind of a joke, but it's not a joke. That was actually a real channel. It no longer exists because it didn't have enough subscribers in the middle of the country to sustain it. What is the future here? I guess that would be a good way to wrap this all up, right? The cable business got from these disparate groups that all just wanted an easy way to get a broadcast network into their homes. And then pay TV happened, and then the pay TV groups started buying each other, and then they started having all of this money, and as they got more money, they wanted more power, and as they got more control, Congress started stepping in and then stepping out again. So what's the future? Personally, I'm not a media researcher per se, but I would say TV over IP. Chances are the box that you have already is really delivering TV over IP. You can have on demand, which is essentially the same as a Netflix or a Hulu. It's just queuing up something that's pre-recorded on a server somewhere. And that's kind of how I see it going. You get one cable and it brings you the internet. But if Comcast owns the cable and they also own all of the shows, then they can give you those shows as included with your internet. This, of course, assumes that net neutrality doesn't stay the law of the land. Under net neutrality, Comcast couldn't say my network is better and thus I will give you my stuff. They have to let you go wherever you want. But if you have Comcast for your internet, TV over IP would let them block out other groups. You'd have to go get them for your internet also. The future is hard to say. Are we going to watch all of our television on phones? Is your phone going to be the media hub of your entire home in 15 years? You come home, you plug your phone into something by the door, and then all of your computers and devices just pull information from that? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. There are a lot of people trying to figure this out. But I do think that the idea that 1,000 channels are coming into one box that sits in my living room, those days existed for a reason. And they're starting to go away. Because why have 1,000 markets when I can have 20,000? Because that's what Google's promising. That's what the internet promises. Niche markets down to dozens of people, hundreds of people. And that's the future, potentially. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Really, I appreciate it so much. Please subscribe for more videos. Come find me on Twitter. Let me know in the comments if you have any other ideas. This is really what I love doing, is breaking these things down and talking to you about them. And yeah, I love you guys. Thanks for watching.